I started running ads on Google roughly 7 years ago, and within this time period, I've been able to generate over $100 million for e-commerce brands in different industries and niches. And in this time period, I've also been able to build up one of the largest Google Ads agencies within the United States and have had the opportunity to now work over 1,000 different brands of all sizes. I say this in the beginning, not to brag, but just to let you know that I know what I'm talking about when it comes to Google Ads, and I have a lot of personal experience running Google Ads. So what I'm gonna do in this video is I'm going to compress this 7 years worth of knowledge into this one small video for you so that you don't also end up spending 7 years of your life trying to figure out how the Google Ads platform actually works so you can scale your e-commerce brand faster. Now, the first thing I will say about Google Ads in general, Google Ads favors the best brands. Now, I hear so many times, even nowadays when I'm auditing brands under my Google Ads agency or marketing, I always hear the brand owners say how Google is not on their side. Google doesn't want them to win. Google doesn't do this. Google doesn't do that. All I hear is a lot of complaints about Google Ads. But what these e-commerce brand owners don't realize is Google, it's a robot at the end of the day. It's not a real human being sitting in Google's headquarters deciding if your brand deserves traffic or not. This robot, it has only one purpose in mind. It wants the best brands showing up for the best type of keyword. Doesn't matter what keyword you're trying to rank for. Google's main job is to make sure the best possible brands, which not only have the best product, the best brand identity, the best approach win, but they also want the brand which actually serves its customers the right way to be ranking in the front. And when you understand this, that's when you can start directing your entire approach towards a better strategy, because the strategy at the end of the day is what will determine where your brand ranks. It's not just about the amount of money you pay via bids and budgets. It's about the quality and service that your brand offers. But the second honest truth that I found out from all of this is foundation is everything. Now, at this point, I might sound like a broken record saying the same thing over and over again, but the reality is your foundation with Google Ads, it literally determines how much your brand can scale in, if it can even scale in the first place or not. What do I mean by foundation? Now, the basics of a good foundation include things like proper conversion tracking, a landing page that goes above and beyond in terms of the landing page experience, having the right kinds of trust factors on your website to improve the conversion rates. But it also goes beyond that into things like the product feed, making sure the right kinds of SEO keywords, making sure the right kind of perceived value increasing keywords are within your product titles, descriptions, you're using the right kinds of product images, etc. All these things refer to your foundation, and the stronger your foundation is, the easier time you will have making your Google Ads strategy work. So once I figured out that almost 90% of the time the foundation is the issue, I stopped getting very panicky when the results started to drop off on the Google Ads side of things, and I took a step back to look and analyze that things from the ground up. But this now brings me to the third honest piece of advice I would give you, which is the fundamentals always remain the same no matter how much Google Ads as a platform changes. So what I've started to realize in these past few months is the fundamentals, which I started off with back 7 years ago, no matter what change has come about, these have always stayed the same. If you focus on making the foundation as strong as possible, then Google Ads will be a platform that continues to work for you time and time again. Doesn't matter what change comes about. It's always about the fundamentals, which also now kind of ties into the fourth honest truth I want to mention about Google Ads, which is perceived value has greater value than real value. Now, what do I mean by this exactly? If you do a quick search for any type of product on Google, doesn't matter what it is, you will notice that there's a variety of different products coming up. Some of these products might cost a lot of money. Some of them might not cost a lot of money, but those products that cost a lot of money and you can almost sense the perceived value of that product through the image, through the title, those are the products that sell the best. And that's because it doesn't matter in real life what the quality of that product is, what the value of that product is. What that brand did right at that given time was it was able to portray that value through the pixels, through the screen in a very decent manner, through the right kinds of product images, by using perceived value and increasing keywords like premium, luxurious, etc., whatever they did, it was enough to increase the perceived value of that product and make it seem higher in terms of value, and also make it seem as if it's worth the price that it's getting sold for. And that's the key with Google Ads. This brings me to the fifth piece of advice when it comes to Google Ads, which is average order value is the key to scale. It doesn't matter what your conversion rate is. It doesn't matter what your CTRs are or search impression share, click share. If you just focus on increasing the average order value for your brand, I can guarantee you it's going to be extremely hard not to scale your brand to the next level. And that's because with Google Ads, average order value is everything. Keep in mind, the higher the average order value, the more money you can spend to acquire a customer. So for instance, if your average order value is $50 right now and your break-even point is $25, well, you can only spend $25 to acquire that customer or less. However, if you now double that average order value from 50 to 100, now you also double the amount of money you can spend on Google to acquire that customer. The past 7 years, I've seen brands time and time again do extremely well when they focus on just the average order value versus the surface level metrics like click-through rates or maybe the ROAS or just search impression shares, click share, etc. So if you want to get the Google Ads algorithm on your side, if you truly want to scale your brand, get the average order value to a level where it makes sense for the algorithm to push your ads more. And even if it's the cost per acquisition increases a bit, you don't end up in a loss. But this brings me to the next piece of advice on the list, which is work with Google's updates. I mentioned earlier, Google has changed a lot in the last 7 years, but every single time when I have not worked with Google's updates, my brands have always suffered. Now, a few examples of this. When Performance Max campaign first came about, there were so many e-commerce store owners and just CMOs in general who did not want to do anything with Performance Max campaigns. I know because I was auditing a lot of these brands under my agency during that time, Your Marketing, which, by the way, if you run a brand doing $1 million a year, you need extra help scaling your brand to the next level with Google Ads, go onto my website at yourmarketing.com and schedule a free call with me to see essentially how we can work together and make that happen. But during that time, what I was noticing was those brands which stuck to standard shopping campaigns and just didn't want to move to Performance Max, they started to suffer the most. It was almost as if Google was punishing these brands for not working with Google's updates. You need to take these updates into account. First of all, you need to know about them, but second, you need to work with them. So instead of forcing and going against the grain, try to work with Google. It's unfortunate because a lot of these updates kind of are forced upon us, but we have no other way besides just working with these updates and moving the needle forward that way. But this now brings me to the next tip on the list, the next truth, which is broad audience works better than niche specific audiences. Now, what I mean by this is a lot of times e-commerce brands, what they will do is because they are used to Facebook ads, maybe they're used to TikTok ads, going after the right ideal audience, they do the same with Google ads. And what they end up realizing is, hey, on Google, their very, very niche specific audience barely has 2,000 average monthly searches. Now, in Google's world, that's not a good thing at all because that's nowhere close to enough to really moving the needle to getting things going. So what happens is, because there's only 2,000 average monthly searches, they end up not being able to even get a decent amount of scale, maybe a couple thousand a month in revenue, and that's not enough to take their brands to the next level. So instead, ideal approach, I've seen this over and over again, is to go the broad way. Instead of just going after very niche specific keywords, like for example, a wooden table, go after the keyword table, make it broad. And in the start, you might struggle a bit, the brand might struggle a bit, but over time, Google's algorithm will be able to detect those people that are searching for products related to wooden tables versus other types of tables. That's when product feed optimization, that's when just making sure your strategy is right really helps. Now, this brings me to the next kind of honest truth I've figured out about Google, which is the main goal with Google shopping ads, at least, or even Google search ads, it's not to rank number one. I see so many brands, their main goal is to rank number one or number two or number three with their products on shopping and they're happy. Well, that's all that's gonna do is it's going to make it so that you're bidding way too high for your products, and you're coming out at a loss at the end. That's not an ideal approach, and that will put too much pressure on your bank account, but it will also put too much pressure on the campaign to always try to rank number one. It's just going to go after basically the highest potential bids, and that's going to increase your cost per link clicks. It's going to make your ROAS and profitability just go down completely. So instead, it's better to rank multiple products within the top 5 to top 10 listings. So think of it like this: if you have a top 10 listing, but then instead of ranking number 1, you have a product that's ranking number 4, you have a product that's ranking number 7, you have a product that's ranking number 10, even though you're not number 1, number 2, number 3, because you're taking up more space overall, there's a better chance somebody will buy one of your products versus if you just had one product ranking number 1 to number 3. And this will be easier on your pockets because your cost per link click will be less, and you'll be more profitable because now you're getting more sales from all of these 3 products combined. This now brings me to the next major truth about Google Ads, which is custom landing pages always are better than Shopify product pages. So if you have a Shopify store, then most likely you're running Google Ads and Google Shopping Ads and whatnot to your product pages. But the thing is, if you really want a higher conversion rates, you need to have a different approach compared to your competitors, which with Google Shopping, at least, you're going to find 90% of your competitors will also be sending their traffic to the Shopify product pages as well. And if you're trying to stand out, if your main goal is to be different from your competitors, well, then in this situation, it's not really going to make that big of a difference. Your landing page experience will not be as high as you would like. And as a result, your brand will not scale to the levels you want it to scale to. So to really utilize Google's algorithm, to really make sure that the algorithm is on your side, always ensure that you are trying at least custom landing pages for some of your best-selling products. That's the minimum you should be doing. Ideally, you want to have it across multiple of your other products as well, but if you can't, a custom landing page, A/B testing alongside a Shopify product page, that will do the trick. And in most cases, you will find that these custom product pages have much higher conversion rates. But now, the next biggest truth of all with Google Ads is branded search campaigns are much more important than you think. I'm talking to so many brand owners recently where they just don't want to do anything with brand search. They think it's a waste of money, it's a sale and they should have already gotten it. And as a result, they force us, or they just don't have in general, these brand search campaigns running. And the kind of bad part about that is with brand search, if you are a well-known brand within your niche, if you have competitors that are going to potentially rank for your branded keywords, well, now you're just losing these easy sales because your competitor is coming up first for your own brand search. And that's not a good thing because number one, it's going to be very unprofessional. They're going to think that if you are a real brand, why are you not showing up first for your own branded search? So it's going to be a little bit unprofessional in that sense. They might lose a bit of trust that they have with your brand. But number two, you will also end up losing those sales, which you could have gotten very easily. So brand search campaigns, they're very important in that manner, but also they feed a lot of easy data to your other campaigns. If you have a lot of cold traffic campaigns, well, now these brand search campaigns that get a lot of these sales, these cold traffic campaigns can use that data on an account level to become smarter, to become stronger, and to find more similar people like those. That's the main goal behind these brand search campaigns. It's not always just about going after the brand keyword. On a whole account level, on a funnel level, we're trying to help these other campaigns via the brand search as well. But final major truth I've learned in this past 7 years is the nitty-gritty details don't matter as much as the big picture. You could end up spending all day trying to figure out the perfect bid. You could spend all day trying to figure out the perfect ad strategy or which campaign type to launch or how to do this or how to do that. But at the end of the day, none of this really matters. And that's because with Google Ads, the bigger picture is where you need to be winning. When I say bigger picture, I'm referring to things like the overall product approach funnel. Are you segregating out products based on product testing, based on product profitability, based on product scaling, or are you putting everything jam-packed together and just hoping the algorithm works in your favor? Or on the other hand, do you have like an ecosystem in place where there's cold traffic and hot and warm traffic all working together? Or is your brand just focused on cold traffic only? Or is it only retargeting with your current Google Ads setup? You need to be focusing on these bigger picture things instead of just kind of fretting over what's the campaign type that you're going to launch, whether it's standard shopping, whether it's performance max, or what bids you're going to have, etc. Those are important, don't get me wrong, but at the end of the day, if you have a right bigger picture, if your overall strategy is correct, then all these things, they will be very minimal. You should still be finding some success, some decent level of scale, even if these nitty-gritty details are not perfect. And that's the beauty with Google Ads. Now, if you run a brand doing $1 million a year, you need extra help scaling your brand to the next level with Google Ads, go onto my website at yourmarketing.com and schedule a pre-call with me to see essentially how we can work together and make that happen. But check out this video right here on a brand which we recently scaled to multi 7 figures per year with Google Ads using some of these truths I just covered.